Jared PolandFrono's.com, and in this video, I want to take the fear out of using a Canon inkjet printer and printing your own prints at home. Now, we did team up with Canon printers to bring you this video, but I want to go through it to show you how easy it is using their plug-in software for Lightroom to make all of the prints that you want to make without having to know anything about DPI, growing your images, or anything that we had to do, say, 15, 20 years ago when we were attempting to print at home. It's actually really easy to do. Now I want to jump into Lightroom and show you how easy it is to get printing from your RAW files, from your JPEG files, from honestly anything. Now here we are in Lightroom. I have two images selected. I've already downloaded Canon's Printer Professional Layout software. It's real easy to use. I've got two images selected right here. Now these are two Canon images, but they don't need to be taken with a Canon camera in order to print on a Canon inkjet printer. The whole point is you can print anything you want. It could be from a Canon, a Nikon, a Sony, a Pentax, an Olympus, an iPhone, even a Samsung phone, anything, or from a scan. You can print anything. So for people that were wondering, yeah, do I need to use a Canon file to print on the printer? And the answer to that is obviously no. I select the images I want to print. I go up to File, Plug in Extras, Canon Professional Print and Layout, and the software is going to go and do what it's going to do. I don't even know what it's doing, and I don't care, because what it allows me to do is just worry about printing and not have to worry about what size do I make everything, because the software is going to do it all for you, and it makes it so much easier and takes all the fear out of making your prints. Now, what you see here down at the bottom is I have two images. I want to start with the horizontal image just to show you. I have it set to show me high res. That's why it took a split second to get it loaded. Now, over here on the right-hand side under paper size, you see that I have 17 by 22 inch paper selected. That's because that's the largest paper that this particular Pro 1000 takes. Canon has a bunch of different printers that take different size papers, and you can do everything from 4x6 all the way up to 17 by 22 with this particular Pro 1000, but it's for you to choose what size paper you want to use. Now, being that I mentioned paper, there's all different types of paper out there from different manufacturers. Canon makes their own paper that they sell. I use something called Red River because I love their Arctic Polar Luster paper. There's Hammermühle. There's all different types of papers out there that you can use. And we're gonna have a separate video that's gonna show you the different types of papers that you can use, because there's glossy, there's matte, there's super flat matte, there's rag, there's Arctic Polar Luster, there's bright whites, there's darks, there's all different types of styles. There's even metallic glossy. Yeah, there's a lot of different ones that you can use, and we'll show you all about that in another video. Okay, so you can see right here 17 by 22 is selected, but if I click on this, you're going to see all different types of paper sizes. I never understood what A2 and A3 and A3 plus and A4. I always had to Google that, but thankfully the software tells me what size the paper is. 17 by 22 is the C size, and that's what I select. Now, you can see that this is where your image would be printed. What I'm seeing a preview of is 17 by 22, which means there's going to be these big white borders. I don't want a huge amount of white border. Now, if you come down here, we can see, if I click on this and I say image slot, position, and size, it's showing me that the image size right now is 12 by 17.991. Now that's pretty small on a 17 by 22 inch paper. And what I like to do is size this to a place where it gives me the ability to sign the print. So I go 1.75 right here, and it automatically keeps it centered, because that's what I have selected to have it centered, and it also scales it to the size that I want. So you don't have to sit there and type in 73, you don't have to sit there and try to figure out all of the nuances of, well, if I make this 1.75, then I need to do this to keep it even. You can do that. You can uncenter it and have it just change, and you can place prints wherever you want. You can actually do multiple prints on a piece of paper if you wanted to. You could lay out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different prints across one page if you wanted to do that, and then cut it out later. I like to do one print. Now, I've come up with this 1.75 on the margin because I love the way that I can sign it for when I give people prints. Because really, The point of printing things out is to give the gift of photography, to show your work off, but also give people images, physical, tangible prints, because so many people have gotten away from doing actual physical, tangible prints that when you give something to somebody, they want to get it framed, they want to hang it on their wall, and they want to keep it and enjoy it. Also, if you're in the business of photography, not only just giving stuff away is nice, but making money off of it isn't a bad thing either. So keep all of that in mind. So that makes it easy for me to sign. And then if someone was going to print and hang this and they wanted to put a mat on there, you give them some extra room. But you could also go ahead and do a full page bleed, borderless printing. I can click the button and it makes it borderless, but it's cropping the heck out of my image because 17 by 22 is not a proper aspect ratio to print a full frame image. That's why we do the white border. So then I get rid of borderless printing and it takes it back to the way that I personally wanted it. So basically right now I would be ready to print, but I want to show you this vertical print and we can do the same thing. We can change the size. I can be like, okay, 1.5. But you see that doesn't give me a lot of room down here to go ahead and sign it. That's not what I want. So I could go 2. Let's see how that looks. All right, 2 would look pretty good. And we can go back and see the actual size again. So we can go to slot position. This is a 13 by 19 and a half, which is a pretty nice size image on its own. So that's what it would end up being framed as. Now let's go back here because let's say we want to go full bleed printing for this because we can get away with it. We go ahead and we click on full bleed, but I don't like how much headroom there is. I don't want that much headroom. So I just double clicked on the image and I'm simply going to drag this to where I want the perfect amount of headroom for me. And I hit OK. And now this is what you're going to see printed. It's going to print it full bleed on a 17 by 22. So remember when I said you could do multiple images on a sheet? So here it says layout mode. I'm going to go ahead and hit multiple images, and being that they're both selected, it's going to go ahead and print both of these images just like this. And that would be on a 17 by 22 inch piece of paper. I personally don't want to do that. I'd rather just use a smaller piece if that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go back and hit single slot, reload this back to borderless printing, and now we're basically ready to print. Let's go over here to the right-hand side and take a look at what we have. We've got the printer is the Pro 1000. I have it plugged in via USB. We have single image that is going to be up on the screen because you see exactly what you're going to get. Now this is where we need to take a closer look. What type of paper do we have in the printer? The printer paper is selected to Pro Luster, but we're going to change something in just a second to make sure that we match the paper that I'm using with the printer. Paper size 17 by 22. We've got borderless printing set. We're going to use the top feed, which is the one that sucks it through the printer. There is an option to use manual feed through the back if that's what you wanted to do. Now, there's different options for print quality. Right now it's set to high. There's highest, high, and standard. Standard is if you want to print something much quicker and use a little bit less ink. It's going to be a fast printout. It's not going to be the highest quality because it's called standard. You can tell a difference between standard and the highest and high quality. It's super subtle. Most people would never notice it. So if you're just doing test prints, maybe consider using standard so you're not using as much ink. Now I set it to high instead of highest. Highest takes the longest time to print. If you got a lot of time and you want it to be the super duper highest quality, then go ahead and select that. You're going to end up using, I believe, a little bit more ink, and I haven't seen much of a difference when I look between high and highest. And I've printed over 1,000 prints for Fro 365 and Fro 366 over 3 years, plus a ton of extra prints on my own, and I've done them all in high, except for the ones at the beginning where it's highest, and I'm like, ooh, this is going to take quite a while because it's going to give you the highest quality. So that's up to you to choose which one you want to do. Now you've got clear coding for the printer that I'm using, has the option for the Chroma Optimizer. I leave this set to auto. Not every printer that you use is going to have that setting. Next, we're going to move down to color management. I'm going to say use ICC profile. I don't change that, but what I do change is the printer profile. So depending on what paper you use, there's different printer profiles so that it tells the printer that this is the type of paper that we're using, and it needs to do all these things on the back end. How far is the print head from the paper, and all of the things that I honestly don't know what it does. And I use paper from Red River. Now, Red River has made profiles specifically for this printer and a lot of other printers that when you purchase the paper, you go on there, you download these printer profiles for free because they've done all the testing with all of the printers to know that this is the best way to use this paper in this particular printer. They do all that work for you. It's free. You download these plugins, these profiles, you put it right into the software, and now it's going to talk to the printer to tell it exactly what it needs to do to give us the best possible print. So I've got Arctic Polar Luster Pro selected because that is the paper that I'm using. And right there, we are basically at the end. Make sure the paper's in the printer, make sure your ink is ready to go, and you hit print, and you just sit back and watch an awesome print come out of your inkjet printer. So as you can tell, it's not that hard of a process. It used to be super hard, but now that you have this plug-in software from Canon, it makes everything so much easier. It takes all the fear out of it because it's doing all of the work for you. It takes your file and it does what it needs to do to give you a beautiful print time and time again so that you can sell more prints or give the gift of photography and have something tangible in your hands. Now, if you want to check out more about Canon printers, head on over to canon.us/froprinters to learn more about the different inkjet printers that Canon offers. Thank you very much for watching. Jared, PolandFronosphoto.com. See ya.